Glad you could join us today on Earthfile. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayola Kasim. According to available statistics, 2 out of 3 people live in rural areas where they depend on agriculture and other natural resources for their survival. Biodiversity supports the growing populations in rural and urban areas, but the pressure is becoming increasingly higher due to overexploitation as a result of high demand. Now, many plants and animals, including many potentially viable species, are on the fast track to extinction because of these losses. But some are working hard to reverse this trend. Today, we will visit Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital in the south-south region of Nigeria, where individuals and communities are working at protecting plants and animals. Just stay with us.
This little snake would have died, assuming it wasn't for a nephew's understanding of conservation. Having been working with me for a long time, he is now aware of conservation. When they were clearing the farm near his street, they saw this snake and they wanted to kill it. He stopped them. He collected them quickly into this plastic bottle and brought it for me. He knows I will take care of it.
Dr. Idem Enyang fondly called the snake man, about to set one of his favorite reptiles free.
So now I'm to bid it goodbye. So come out freely. Yes, go, go, go. Yeah, you're free. Come on. Yeah. There's the ground and go. You're free.
Dr. Enyang, an associate professor in wildlife resources management and herpetology at the University of Uyo in Akwa Ibom State, said that this snake species just released is not dangerous.
Agama can eat it right now, cut it in bits and eat. So, but I pray it doesn't die. We need them. You see, snakes communicate with pheromonal systems. They release hormones in the air. Other conspecifics in the neighborhood perceive it and come after them. So if this one is able to attract his conspecifics to come around, I'm happy. So she wants, for instance, if this is the female, anytime she's matured, sexually matured and wants a male, she will just release one pheromone into the air. The air will carry it around, and that male will find her and come.
But then, if it grows bigger than this, what happens?
We know this. Mahalia poensis doesn't have anything to do, and I'll continue being happy having it, to be able to give it even to schools, to use it in teaching their children. It's not good that every snake we see as Nigerians, we jab it to death.
Because most people fear the snake because they are dangerous.
Unfounded fears. But for these guys, rats will take over our environment, destroy our agricultural crops. For instance, grain crops, rats will eat everything up.
His Biodiversity Preservation Center in Ojokitam in Uyo is home to different species of snakes.
Feel it. I've supported it.
Crocodiles, tortoises, monitor lizards, and many more.
Now one's setting the tail to whip me. That's what it does. This is what they call Nigerian dwarf crocodile. They come, hide underwater. The algae, the white unicellular plants growing there covers their skin. They feel at home. They come out. I deliberately grow this. I grow this algal bloom that you see here. This is what they call beggar weed. So that's what I use in mimicking the natural environment. You can see it growing on the edges of the pond. So what they do, they come here from the beginning. They sweep virtually with their legs. They use their back legs and pack this refuse deliberately and put it there for nest to lay the egg. You can see how gravid she is. She wants to lay.
Is this a man?
That's a man. And that's a wife there. So she has virtually piled a huge heap. Sometimes we have to pack leaves, fallen leaves, and come and add to her for her to make that much nest. So all the eggs will be buried there and it incubates itself because the rotting leaves generate heat inside. Because that's naturally the way they incubate their eggs. They don't sit on it like chicken do. They allow the rotting vegetation inside that heap the heat is generated when it's rotting. That's what helps to incubate the egg. The temperature determines what sex the baby will be. A higher temperature will bring out males. A lower temperature will bring out females. So she needs a balanced temperature. That's why she does the hip so big. So the eggs that are underneath will receive higher temperature. The ones above will receive lower temperature because the heat is higher as you go deeper. So that's what they do. And it's very interesting because even as a scientist, you may not see this in the wild. But keeping this thing in this enclosure has given us the opportunity to see and understand its biology much more than what you read in textbooks.
Dr. Enyang established the Biodiversity Preservation Center in 1996, and it is dedicated to the protection and preservation of Nigerian biodiversity through field biological researches, conservation education, outreach programs, anti-bushmeat campaigns, and provision of alternatives to bushmeat.
Yeah, what happens in conservation science from the world over? There is what we call, for instance, a voucher specimen. The voucher specimen is the Jesus Christ that died for all of us. So it's permitted for you to take a few representative population or individual and keep for the purposes of educating the people that impact on their environment, impact on their population, to learn from this individual in favor of those still left in the wild. If you have successfully convinced the persons who visit here that it's good to conserve the crocodile, it's not only good as bushmeat, you can farm them, you can do this and that, it all adds, positively in the value chain for conservation. So I'm not just professing theory. I do this thing practically by myself all my life.
The center is currently working on a project being funded by the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund, which focuses on endangered tortoises conservation project in Nigeria. The center has 33 tortoises in 5 different species.
We came in to survey in the field, on transects in forest, in patches, in suburbia, and even in bushmeat markets to see what was happening to tortoises, these tortoises here in Nigeria. And so we crisscrossed from urban forest all the way to the Cross River estuary at Oron and all the way to Imo River. The whole of this area, we tried to see where were the tortoises coming from, as you see so many of them in the bushmeat market. Are the population still viable outside there in the forest? What can we do to sustain their population? This is what in summary, what the project was all about. And from this project, we realized that the rate at which people were eating them, trading them in the market, what was behind it? It's not everybody who knows that they could eat tortoise. It's not everybody who even have access to see them. So, what now brought them? Like you go to a market, on a typical market, there you see many of them on sale. We realized that there is a juju animism practice, a juju practice where people do mystical powers in food, women particularly. They make this food so that a man who eats the food will fall in love with them and will never look at another woman. See, they call this medicine Kopnami, and it's very famous here. Those women who are targeting white men or foreigners, they use the white tortoise. And those women who are targeting black men, they use the black tortoise for this. But it's not only the love portion. People who trade, they also keep these animals as a mystical power to have the convincing tongue to force you or encourage you to buy what you wouldn't want to buy. That's one. 2, at the price they want you to buy. So they keep this thing alive in supermarkets and in their shops in the market to sell more than their neighbor. So these ones keep it alive. The thing wouldn't see water to drink. The thing wouldn't see forest to eat ants and other things. They don't even know what it eats. It's here that we are learning what this thing is eating in nature, because we give them an opportunity to be in a normal bush like this. We watch them day and night. We watch them under rain to see what they eat. So they don't know what they eat. Eventually, it's long living and it can stay hungry for very long. After a while, it dies in their care. And then they go and look for another one. We have now been sensitizing the people, making campaign.
In June 2017, The Biodiversity Preservation Center received a small grant from the Critical Ecosystems Partnerships Fund and BirdLife International under their Guinean Forest of West African program to conduct a project titled Determining Distribution, Density and Connectivity of Threatened Tortoises in Nigeria. The project enabled the Biodiversity Center to carry out intensive field ecological and market surveys for tortoises. The Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund helps the Biodiversity Center to set up a community wildlife sanctuary in Imbiakong in 2017. This area is important because it includes a remnant forest patch with threatened fauna. This wildlife sanctuary is subjected to not only science-mediated management actions, but also ecological research studies.
This is Imbiakong Ruan Community Forest, and an area that is very unique because if we move down a little bit here, there is a natural crater, very deep, almost like an amphitheater. You will see up at the bottom from a distance, you see the edges all round as if it's a natural, a geographical phenomenon. And this is where we have the highest concentration, the highest population of tortoises during our survey from Cross River, the Guinean forest hotspot. This is the highest concentration. I told the people we're keeping tortoises in their houses. All the community functions we used to have, we see tortoises, even when they're performing, tortoises are crawling all over. We have other mammals, like the Sitatunga. This is the Sitatunga. It's a big antelope that lives in the swamp forest. The animal is there, and then the tortoise, then the hooded vulture. I don't know whether it's because of the trees, but for some reason, hooded vultures have become critically endangered in Nigeria. But we were happy to find them nesting in the swamps here.
Expert evaluations have shown that there are approximately 350 species of tortoises in the world. 3 out of these are in Nigeria, and they have been identified as being critically endangered. To save the situation, Dr. Enyang asked that all hands should be on deck to ensure the survival of the animals in Akwa Ibom State and indeed Nigeria.
Conservation is a new development in this environment, and with the level of poverty, financial poverty, land hunger, poverty, in even conservation awareness makes it almost a brick wall for us.
Wildlife experts say rural communities that are the long-standing custodians of the natural forest estates, especially in West and Central Africa, are fast losing their valuable resource base. Clear felling and bush burning of large forest tracts for farming and logging has caused devastating effect on the forest resources, rural livelihood needs and biodiversity. Clear-felled and burnt sites, especially farmlands, are exposed to devastating consequences of erosion and desertification. All these have resulted in loss of endemic flora and fauna, silting of rich, clean forest streams and rivers, loss of valuable medicinal plants and natural food sources. This situation has created hardship for the ever-increasing rural populations, whose lives depend solely on their forests. Pressure is now forced on protected areas like national parks and game reserves. Nigeria has already lost approximately 90% of its forest, and according to the Food and Agriculture Organization, the country has the highest primary forest deforestation rate anywhere in the world, approaching 20% per year between 2005 and 2010. Over half of the country's remaining forest is located in Cross River State. Cross River National Park, the urban division, includes 3,000 square kilometers of forest and is the heart of the answer to long-term endangered species survival in the region. Biodiversity loss is a problem in many other countries in the world, and most particularly developing countries where poverty is still pervasive. Nigeria is the most populous African country and has one of the highest growth rates in the world. Small population of people living at low densities by means of traditional patterns of agriculture pastorals and hunting gathering have for many centuries been able to use natural resources sustainably, simply by not removing these resources faster than their reproductive or replenishment rates. However, Nigeria's large population is characterized by high percentages of illiteracy, unemployment and poverty, which act as powerful drivers of increasingly severe demands on the remaining biodiversity in the country. The Global Environment Fund's Small Grants Program has tried to reverse this trend in Uyo. In 2010, the Global Environment Fund's Small Grants Program funded the community-based conservation of endangered Sclater's Genon monkey in Itam Forest. The goal of Itam Monkey Project was to help Itam people conserve the critically endangered primate in their community by conducting community conservation education and tree planting of indigenous multi-purpose trees, train community members to conduct community-based ecotourism while building forest resilience against global climate change.
When we first started, it was this TRCC that brought us here. And after so much, I contacted Dr. Idem that I didn't know him so well that time. So I said, okay, if Idem was going to be part of it, he said yes. And give it to this guy. When it comes to community mobilization, it is good. One of the attractions to us that time was that viewing center. We gave him all the materials that he was going to use to set up that, which they set up. Then the small business center, not a business center, but an IT small office where youth from the community can come. We felt that, okay, when you give them that, then of course you are able to get their buy-in for the protection of this place. So it was after that, and then the tortoises and all that they make here, that they find here, we see what they do with them. Did all that, which of course became something of a success to us. It was after that Dr. Idem also now got additional support from CEPF, and then the community, out of their enthusiasm, and you see, many of them are aware that if they continue to get support and get attraction from the international communities, small by, one way or the other, some small things will start coming to the community. So they are, I can say they are to an appreciable level. They are aware of the essence of them keeping this.
This project was designed to ensure the regeneration and preservation of representative flora and possibly fauna species that are threatened with extinction and directed towards the community conservation of the critically endangered Sclater's Genon monkey, which is endemic to southern Nigeria and listed in Appendix 1 Priority 1 and the Nigeria Conservation Strategy, while internationally recognized and rated number 4 in the 2006 IUCN Global Red Data List of Endangered Species of Fauna.
Many years ago, we had the international community, UNESCO and SGP, coming our way to help us do conservation work in respect of our monkey. We welcomed the team and they did a good job. But for one reason or another, because they told us there was no finance again to carry on with the project, we believed them. And the team packed out of here. But before they left, they had put a number of things in place. We did tree planting. We tried to bring in water to this community. We did a number of things. We even won prizes when we went to, was it yes, to give a report of what had been going on. That one was left halfway, if I may say so. And since then, well, he there refers to Dr. Enyam. He's been a lone ranger coming in here to inquire about the progress since the team had left. But we told them through him that not much has happened. since then. And I am telling you now that not much has happened since then.
Today, the communities where the Biodiversity Protection Center works are asking for more to sustain their little efforts.
You saw some places that were cleared and then crops and protect pumpkin and other things planted. So they were saying what would be their this thing if they leave the whole for the government. What would be their benefit, because they reap some benefits from what they are planting. So this type of question was for you people to answer, because I would not be able to tell them. If I tell them anything, it may not be the truth that I'm impacting on them.
The issue of loss of access cannot go without compensation, because yes, for the ownership to change hands, you have to reach that understanding with the community that they are not working in a vacuum, and that you are not just taking their property. Land belongs to government, but here government has not done like a C of O, handing over this land to the project. That's number one. Then number two, the community are ceding the land in trust that they will be adequately compensated. So we have, with the chief, we have been trying as much as possible to enlighten the people that Rome was not built in a day just for the coming of the SGP. This wildlife viewing center was established in order to sensitize the community effectively.
The increased pressure to find suitable land for crop cultivation has also resulted in the clearance of the forest edge for fertile land to cultivate their crops.
So my message has been, over the years, I've been in conservation more than 20 years now, I have been crying, pleading, since I moved from Calabar, Cross River State, I moved my conservation program to Akwa Ibom State. I've been crying, I've never stopped crying. Anytime I have opportunity to tell government, I've been recommending that we must establish a conservation area. That's a protected landscape. Maybe a wildlife sanctuary, a heritage site, a biosphere reserve, or a national park. The paper one is the Stops Creek Forest Reserve at Ibana, Eket, and Esther Eket area. That Stops Creek Forest Reserve is practically disappearing by the day. Other scientists who don't go to the field don't actually know exactly what is happening. I go to the bush, I live there, I work there since 2012 consistently till today. I never stop going there. I weep in my spirit because what is on paper is almost gone. The species are almost gone. So it's not only Stops Creek. There are many suitable locations. It doesn't need to be gigantic. It doesn't need to be thousands of kilometers square.
While the felling of trees was supposed to cease in the community forest, it is unfortunate that it has resumed a few years back, and in some fragments, this activity continues unabated, claiming more of the habitat which is so essential for the primate species and all other local wildlife species.
That's our program for the day. Thank you for watching. Please join us next week for another episode of the program. You can get in touch by using any of our feedback channels. And you can also view this episode by visiting our website, channelstv.com. Do click on programs and then click Earthfile. We'll see you next week.